Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Premium DNA Banjo-Kazooie 2-pack, sorta? It's really just a 1-pack, because do you ever see Kazooie by itself? Her. It's gotta be a her. I think it's a her. Don't know. But together they are them, and it's a 2-pack, I guess. So, they've done a pretty good job, this company, with the Battletoads figures so far. Few things that haven't been exactly the way we would want them to be, but overall, a good first showing for sure, if you ask me. Now, Banjo-Kazooie. Something we don't have very many figures of. I don't know for sure, but I think the only other one in existence is the old Mario Kart, or Diddy Kong Racing one that I have from a million years ago, and I didn't even remember it until just now, so I didn't bring it out, but it's like that big and not particularly good. It's old. So, there's not much to compare this against, but it's reasonable to say that it's not going to be the most articulated thing. He's kind of chunky as a bird on his back. We'll see. I'm hoping it still is articulated well enough, but I'll tell you one thing for sure. As soon as I took the sleeve off the box, I was like, oh, that's the way I responded to that, is it looks really damn good, like really, really good. There are a few things that are problems, but overall it's very aesthetically pleasing. We're going to talk about all of this, so let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. Alrighty, before we look at the figure, I'll show you my package real quick. There is a sleeve, but it's just like the main logo and then game renders, so it's not like super important. It looks nice, but if you're displaying it, you're going to want to display this, because the figure looks better than some game renders that you could get a poster of. So the box, it's these kind of images, so it's like nothing special on the sleeve. Then of course on the back it shows you this, and I have to say, when they first showed the proto with the paint masters and everything, I didn't think it looked that good. I thought it looked okay, and I was like, well, we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised. That does look like a paint master to me as opposed to a render, but some of the parts do look like renders. Anyway, I was a little bit concerned, but I am pleasantly surprised, so that's a good thing. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring this guy over. This is going to be a slightly strange review just because of the nature of the figure. And he's actually surprisingly heavy. He's a chonker. I'm going to just keep saying he, because who cares about the bird? I'm sure I just bothered a lot of Banjo-Kazooie fans. I never played the game. My extent of this character in terms of familiarity is Smash Brothers, but obviously I grew up on Nintendos, so I know the character, I just never played the games, never enjoyed them. Okay, he stands by himself about 18.5 centimeters. That's going to be roughly 7.25 inches. With the bird, we're up to closer to like 9.5, depending on how you have it posed. And then that's going to be roughly 24 centimeters. So he does have some size to him. And there he is up against a Marvel Legends Darwin. So definitely some size. You could argue that's 1/12 scale. The bird's kind of big. I don't know what kind of bird that's supposed to be, but as far as a bear goes, he's a bear, right? He has to be a bear. Bears don't look like that. What is he? Is he a bear? He has to be. Anyway, it's a reasonable size, I guess. So yeah, that's a kind of a problem though. Not really. I mean, not for this figure, but for collectors, because it's not Smash Brothers size. It doesn't go with any of the other Nintendo products that are out there right now. And that's because it's a Microsoft product and it's nowadays, and it's different. I can't fault the figure for that, but if you wanted this in your Smash collection, he is going to tower over everyone in that collection. Alright, so let's do a quick question of the day. Scale, does that bother you? Does it matter that this guy's gonna be on his own? Like, he's definitely too big for NECA's Crash Bandicoot. He's definitely too big for all the Nintendo products out there. Does that matter to you? To me, like, ideally, I'd be able to mix and match my collections, but it's not going to stop me from buying a good figure, so I'll just live with it. Okay, let's talk about the aesthetic. Very first thing I have to note is the paint on this thing is nuts. It's really good. And I think at the $70 price point, you're getting a very big figure with a big accessory and a bunch of other accessories. I think that's a very reasonable price for something like this. It's a lot of money, but you're getting a lot for it. Now, hopefully all the different aspects, the aesthetic, the accessories, the articulation can carry us through, but just at first glance, I'm okay with it. Like, this looks good. The fur, I'm not exactly sure, but it looks to me like it's brown with a black wash. And that looks pretty darn nice. It looks good. It's a little shiny. It does have a plasticky feel, but at the same time, I'm kind of okay with that for Banjo because he looks like a toy. Like, he's sculpted. He's made to look like a toy in the game, kinda. I mean, sorta, at least with the renders, kinda, sorta. I know he's supposed to be furry. It just looks okay to me. I don't know why. But if you don't like this slight shininess, like, and objectively it's probably not good, that's reasonable. He's got really nice shading in his chest. I like that a whole bunch. Same thing is carried on to his hands and his face. Lots of shading in that, let's call it skin tone. No shading in the bright yellow pants. That's a little bit unfortunate. They did paint the stitches, but here's one of the things I do have a problem with. Now, on the shorts, the stitches are very brown. And then on the pants, they're almost black. They're much darker, so that looks a little bit weird. Belt is painted nicely. His little claws are painted nicely on his hands and his feet, and the feet do have the shading as well. Looks pretty good. The backpack has no shading, but a clean enough paint job for the straps and buckles. His eyes are gorgeous. They're nice and shiny, and the tampography on there is splendid. It looks great. These are some of the best cartoonish eyes I've seen. They look very nice. And then his little whisker spots are clean enough. His teeth look way better than they did in the promo. Like, they're not perfectly painted, but they're not anywhere near as big and goofy looking. This paint line is clean. It's a nice looking figure. His ears are decent enough. Like, it looks good enough for sure. You're never gonna have anything perfect, but this looks good. The bird does look a little bit under finished compared to the bear. The wingtips are feathered nicely, no pun intended. The beak is painted, like, the parts that are painted are very nicely painted. The eyes look just as good, almost. They have a little bit less detail to them, but it looks good. Then we have more shading up here at the top. It's just that the feathers, the main orangey red feathers, don't have anything going on. So it looks a little bit cheap and plasticky compared to the rest. Backpack stitching doesn't have any paint on it like the shorts stitching. So little things like that you could pick at, but overall it looks pretty good. There is some shading on the bird's chest. We'll take the bird off in a little bit. I am referring to them as bear and bird, just in case somebody is not that familiar with these characters. Okay, because the name is Banjo-Kazooie, not Banjo and Kazooie, so it could be confusing to a newcomer. Alright, so aesthetics, I think it looks great. The sculpt is on point for sure. I'm very, very pleased with the sculpt. It's way better than I thought it was going to be. I thought he was going to look really goofy, but he doesn't. He looks great. I think they nailed it. So sculpt and paint are awesome. 9 out of 10. Could be better, like a little bit of a wash on the bird, I think. Even if it was just a slightly darker red, just something to bring out those details. But yeah, it looks good. Few hiccups here and there, but overall nice. Alright, now as far as accessories go, let's just start with saying the backpack can come off. You can take it off completely if you wanted to, so that's good. This piece here, I don't think you're really meant to stick it there, but as far as I remember, you could see the backpack flap like that. And luckily it does fit. It just sits there though. It's not really meant to. It is meant to go on when the bird's not in there. So if you wanted to have no bird, you can take the bird out. We'll talk about that and have the flap on there. So I do like that. I wish there was a little bit of a place for that to go rather than just wedging it in. But practically speaking, it's like you're not going to notice. It looks all right. It's fine. It's not perfect, but it'll do. So you do have the backpack. You have an alternate head. You have the head with his mouth open, sort of, with his teeth showing. Then you have one where he's just smiling. Both are equally well done. I love that they gave us that option. For hands, you get the two clenchy hands that come on him. Then you get two more relaxed hands. That's nice. You get the banjo. I don't know how practical that is, but you do get it. And you get a puzzle piece. So that's from the game. It's gold metallic, sort of. It's not super metallic. Mine's kind of scuffed up on one side, but the other side is good, so I'll take it. I think some vac chrome would have been nice for that, but that's okay. And then you do get a bottom half of the bird, and that's for his move in Smash. His smash attack, his ultimate smash, where he rips the bird in half and uses it like nunchucks. No, I'm joking. It's because the bird comes out. If you want to take the bird out, you can just pop the bird out. And obviously, you don't want half a bird, so you can build your bird. All right, and it has ball pegs for the hips. Not super useful because that's the only articulation for the legs, so you're not really doing a whole lot there. The head's on a ball peg, and then so are the wings. So we're gonna see if it can even stand on its own. I'm thinking it's not gonna be able to do it. All right, I'm putting as much weight back as I can. And it looks to me like, oh, if you just ever so slightly balance it, you might be able to get it to stand. But that seems like a miscalculation. Oh, and doesn't fit on there quite perfectly. All right, can we just, maybe it does this. There, you can put the wings down. Maybe I don't know the character enough, and maybe that's okay. So yeah, it doesn't stand on its own, but you do get the whole bird if you want it. I guess you could do that. That's a fine enough thing, other than a feather definitely wouldn't be enough to use as a support, but you can do that. All right, and then also, let's just pop this on so you can see what it looks like. Backpack looks nice without the bird in it. You know what? I think it's actually a nicer display to have them separate, even though the bird can't stand. That's okay. I don't know. It's just kind of clumsy to have the bird on his back. It works for a video game well enough, but for the figure, not as much. And then lastly, we do get the horn or whatever it is for the bird that just jams in his mouth. And that's that. I mean, it makes sense, but it's a basic looking accessory, but it suits the character. So accessory wise, I think that's enough. Maybe there could be a few other things. So 9 out of 10, but that's a good spread of accessories. Okay, now, oh, I forgot to mention, for the aesthetics, I should take an extra point off for this. I think I will knock a point off of the aesthetic rating. The straps are just hanging out like they have nothing better to do, because they are nowhere near where he should have them. So that kind of sucks. Like, it's not a huge deal, but it definitely should be better. And I would point that out for any other company, so these guys get it pointed out too. And then the necklace, I just forgot to mention this. It has to go under his fur, under his neck, in order to hang properly. It's just not big enough to go around all the way. Like, it's close, but you definitely have to tuck it under. So that's another thing. So yeah, we'll take 1 point off for the aesthetic, but otherwise it looks good. So let's go ahead and talk about the articulation. The head, it's just a single ball peg, so you're not going to get a ton of range out of it. You get your rotation, that's okay. Leaning, not really, just a little bit of a rock, really. So rotation and then leaning forward and back. Not a whole lot of range. It's pretty limited. For the shoulders, it's a fixed hinge. So, oh, it's pretty loose too. Not quite, not even close to horizontal. I guess, let's see. If you force it, you can get up there, but it doesn't stay because it's too loose. So shoulders have very little range. They don't go down all the way, that's far enough, but they definitely don't go up all the way. You do get your full rotation, so that's all right. Wrists have a swivel hinge, so you get your swivel, it's your bicep swivel, and your elbow, which is going to be less than 90, so very limited range so far. Wrists have a swivel and a hinge. Hinge is pretty loose. Diaphragm joint on this guy. Oh, it goes very far forward. Love that. Going back. It's a double ball peg, by the way. It goes all the way back as well. And all the way to the what the heck? This is by far the best diaphragm joint they have used out of all of the figures I've reviewed from them so far, which is all the Battletoads and this guy. This is a wonderful double ball peg, so they do know how to do it. I'm thinking maybe they made him after they made the Battletoads. I don't know for sure, but that's a very much better double ball peg for the torso than on the Toads. No waist articulation on this guy. Hips are just giant ball sockets with a thigh swivel right here. Basically nothing, just adjustment posing, and it's not super tight. And then for the knees, you get almost 90 degrees out of the knee. It's a pretty ugly joint though. Not in love with the way they did that. It's not the worst thing because of the fur, but it's not great. And you get your swivel there. I don't know if you can actually rotate that brown part. It doesn't feel like it. The thigh, not that there would really be any purpose to it. And then for the ankles, they go that far back and that far forward. They're pretty loose. There's no rotation up here, at least as far as I can tell. So no ball hinge functionality, just the hinge here and the ankle rocker. So he's pretty limited, and he does like to lean backwards because when he has the bird on him, at least. He's a pretty chunky, heavy figure, but he's not balanced such that it's just easy to get him to balance, especially with the bird. He wants to lean back, and the bird is heavy, so not great. His articulation's very lacking, and that's not a great thing. This keeps popping off for me. I'm assuming, well, it doesn't look like they even tried to glue it, so I'm guessing they just pegged it in and left it, which I guess is fine. Might be, well, yeah, you don't really need to do that to get it off of him, but whatever. So yeah, it's definitely not great. Articulation's gonna get a 4. This guy really can't pose, and the bird's not great at posing either. So that's a bummer, big time. Luckily, they pulled a NECA and said, hey, let's just make it look great, because it does look pretty damn good, and the accessories are good enough. So yeah, we're gonna have to knock it down some. Are these feet on the wrong side? That looks a little weird, doesn't it? I wonder if they have the legs, the yellow parts on the wrong side here. Definitely not the red part. Anyway, we're gonna have to knock some points away. I'm gonna give it an overall rating of I want to say 8 because it looks so good. Here's what I'll say. If you don't care about the articulation, 8 for sure because it looks really, really good. But I have to include the articulation and it's not strong enough at all. So I'm going to knock it down to an overall 7 with the encouragement to get it if you like Banjo-Kazooie or if it looks good to you, because it is a strong looking set, but the articulation blows. So that's my final verdict on this guy. 7 out of 10. I personally love it. It looks great. I hate that the articulation sucks and that he's in a weird scale, but it's a nice addition to the collection. It's going to look good on a shelf for sure. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.